was going to happen.
Duh.
They stood face to face, not moving, not blinking. Here, you need to get this. This was the girl who sat by the grocer's counter. This was the mysterious one who had caused the Grump his sleepless nights. The girl caught her breath and, reaching down, picked up the package. She held out her gift to the Grump and smiled. The Grump looked at the gift and then at Lydia. He then took the gift. For a long, quiet moment, he held it, then loosened the ribbon and opened the wrapping. His face reddened and his mouth twitched.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Dad, I just got stuff from the Squeakers.
Oh.
I just got his little house.
Oh, you little stinker.
I'm not telling you. I can't know.
His face reddened and his mouth twitched. His eyes squinted and his body squirmed. No one in Dinkerwink would have believed what happened next. Mr. Howlweister's eyes brimmed with tears, and he began to tremble. His legs gave way, and he collapsed on the steps and cried and cried and cried. On the front steps of the mansion upon the hill sat a man whose cold heart had been pierced by the gift of love. A little girl by his side, patiently comforting him. Thursday came and Thursday passed. Mr. Bronco had worn his Thursday socks. Dinkerwinkians had done their Thursday work. The children had played their usual games. But the dogs hadn't barked. The children hadn't yelled, "He's coming!" Marcel had kept his shop open, waiting until the sun had set and the snores of the neighbors could be heard through the open windows, until it was clear the Grump was not coming. I can't tell you that, but Dinkerwink was not prepared. The Grump was disrupting their normal routine. The next day they waited expectantly, thinking he would come and that life as usual could resume. But he did not come. One of the oddest days in Dinkerwinkian history began as an ordinary Wednesday. With dogs wandering, children playing, shopkeepers doing business, and Mr. Bronco wearing ordinary socks. Miss Padawak, you remember her, was crossing the street to deliver one of her apple pies. Admiring the pie in her hands, she was not attentive to where she was going, and quite unexpectedly bumped into someone. "Oh my, I'm so sorry. I was just delivering this delicious apple pie to..." Her words trailed into a gasp. The pie dropped from her hands and fell topside down into the street. "Ah!" Shrieking, she ran. All around, Dinkerwinkians looked up from what they were doing. A wave of silence swept the villagers as they watched the familiar figure walk around the toppled pie and continue on, cane tapping upon the cobblestones. The dogs were strangely quiet. Marcel was stocking shelves when he heard the jingling of the bell above his door. Without turning around, he welcomed his customer. "Good day." Moving through the shop, the man selected his items and brought them to the counter, aware that his customer was waiting. Marcel came around, wiping his hands on the towel, when laying it aside. "Will this be all for you today?" As Marcel looked up, he was visibly startled. "Mr. Howlweister, I didn't know it was you." For a moment, the Grump looked at Marcel.
Can I sit down?
Oh, do you want to sit down here? Okay. Okay, you got it there? As Marcel looked up, he was visibly startled. "Mr. Howlweister, I didn't know it was you." For a moment, the Grump looked at Marcel, then gave him a handful of coins for the purchase. Thank you, Mr. Howlweister, for doing business with us." Can you get all that? To Marcel's surprise, as well as that of the people of Dinkerwink, whose noses, ears, and fingers were pressed in curiosity to the store's windows, the Grump spoke. And what a strange utterance it was. "No, I thank you."
I'm gonna take a picture of Squeakers.
Oh, you want to see her? Oh, yeah, you see Squeakers, don't you? Then he turned toward the little girl sitting on her stool next to the counter. Putting his hand inside his coat, he drew out a box wrapped in plain paper and placed it upon her lap. She looked at the box and then at him, and her eyes asked the question, "Is this for me?" He nodded as he did so. The Grump's mouth relaxed. You know what he did, Dash?
I just got all those Squeakers.
Oh, you saw Squeak? Oh, yeah. You know what the Grump did?
No.
He smiled. He smiled. Lydia removed the wrapping and carefully lifted the lid of the box. Oh, joy. On a bed of lilacs lay a flower doll, its dress of pink hollyhocks, its hat a small wild sunflower. It wore a necklace of white clover woven into a circlet. Lydia gently lifted the doll from the box and held it to her heart. Rocking from side to side, the Grump looked on, tears spilling, then turned to leave. See her there?
I really did it.
The Grump stepped through the door and into a crowd of stunned Dinkerwinkians. Lydia placed the doll on its bed of blossoms and followed Mr. Howweister outside, where she placed her hand in his. Then, with the dearest of smiles, she hugged the man known as the Grump. And he, with newfound tenderness, touched the ringlets of her hair. Then joy flooded Dinkerwink. And there was a happy celebration. There was laughter, there was fun, and there was forgiveness. Mrs. Millenberry couldn't contain herself and passed out peaches and cream lollipops to everyone. Mr. Brunko declared this Wednesday to be a holiday in honor of Mr. Howweister and went home to get his Thursday socks. Miss Padawak vowed that her next apple pie would be for the man who was no longer grumpy. Mr. Howweister felt a warmth inside that he had never known. In people's faces he saw genuine kindness toward him. Something new and inviting, something that made his smile feel right. It was like an embrace, strong and caring, a hug from all of Dinkerwink. You see, it was the heart of a little girl that had made all the difference. The girl who now held the Grump by the hand. She was the only one in all of Dinkerwink who did not know Mr. Howweister by that name. You see, to Lydia, he had just been the man with the upside-down smile. A man who needed a friend to help turn it right side up. And so goes the story of the Grump. It's a neat story, isn't it? You know, there's a picture in the back. Do you know who this is, Dash?
This show me.
This one right here? See it? You can put it on the video.
Yeah.
You know who that is?
You.
It says, "This book is dedicated to the sweet orphan child Lydia, who I met only once, but that meeting changed my life forever." I'm really glad that you could take this time with me, and hope you enjoyed the Grump. My son did a great job filming that, as I know you witnessed, and I hope you enjoyed that one. I look forward to being able to share the story of Lydia, that little girl that the book was dedicated to, and telling you about her story and how my life was impacted by that little girl. Thank you, and we'll read again another book soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.